Okay, going to continue looking at motivational theory, and now we're actually going to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist, and he first introduced his hierarchy of needs in 1954, and he argued this was how people are motivated. So his hierarchy starts with our basic psychological needs for survival, and what he argues is as every need is met, the next need up the hierarchy becomes the motivator, and that workplaces can help to meet these needs. Now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory, and it works on the assumption, or it works on the principle, that people always want things and will always want more. That people always want things and they always want more. And it's important to note this isn't just based on a workplace, but it is actually on all areas of life. So we'll look at these hierarchy of needs. So the bottom layer of it is people's psychological needs. Their hunger, their thirst, their sex, their relationships, the sleep. And then he argues that once these needs are met, people will look for the next needs, which is their safety needs, concerning security, stability and protection. And will then move up to their social needs, the sense of belonging, the sense of love and the sense of affection. Now, these lower order needs, these psychological, these safety needs, these social needs, are seen very much as deficiencies, and that these deficiencies need to be fulfilled. Moving up from these, we then have people's esteem needs, their self-esteem and prestige, and eventually arriving at the top of the hierarchy with self-actualization, people's growth, their advancement, their creativity. Now, whilst the lower order needs, the psychological, the safety and the social, were actually deficiencies, their higher order needs, the esteem and the self-actualization, he argues these things are actually necessary for the personal growth of the individual. So, for a business, it actually needs to address the needs of staff starting from the bottom, because each one of these then increases motivation and satisfaction. And let's face it, you can't start motivating by satisfying creativity if there's practical concerns about food and housing. So if we look at a practical application of this theory, because it's really important that whilst at university that you don't just learn about theories, but you do actually understand how they work in practice. So let's just think now about how an organisation can support employees in their needs being met through Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is something we discussed in our sessions. So if we look at people's psychological needs, and we look about the attributes of these being food, water, sex, sleep. Now from the organisation's part of view, these attributes, it could be in things like pay, good pay, reasonable pay, and good work, good basic working conditions. If we think of safety needs, the safety, security, stability and protection. And again in the business, safe working conditions, company benefits and job security. Moving up to the social needs, the love, affection, belonging. And again in an organisation, it could be the cohesive work group, friendly supervisors, professional associations. We look at people's esteem needs, the self-respect, the self-esteem, the prestige, the status. And from a business point of view, it's the individual's self-recognition. Is it a high-status job? What sort of job feedback is there? And then finally looking at the self-actualization, the growth, the advancement, the creativity. Can we make sure it's a challenging job? There's opportunities for creativity and originality, work achievements and advancements. If we actually critique Maslow argues that motivation is as a result of unsatisfied needs, which after being satisfied are no longer a motivator. He subsequently argued that individuals can be at different stages, with people having needs at all levels at different stages. So at any given moment, different people are likely to strive to fulfill different needs, and that humans are likely to have more than one need or interest at any one time, at any given moment. I think it's important to note that the hierarchy does not necessarily relate to work situations, and the hierarchy doesn't actually recognise factors outside the person's control. So in practice, all level of these needs are relevant to work situation, referring from pay and working conditions to meeting the psychological needs through to achievement being at the actualisation level. But the hierarchy can actually work to non-work situations, affecting people's performance at work. And the hierarchy doesn't actually recognise these factors outside the person's control or outside of that time. So that's basically a critique of Maslow.